Austin Carr was an excellent guard who could score like no other when he was hot. His pull-up jumper was nearly perfect, but he could drive to the basket and finish through contact. He was blazing fast in transition, and he didn't mind setting up his teammates for easy looks. As soon as he stepped on campus at Notre Dame, he was dominant, averaging 38 points a game in his junior and senior seasons. He still holds the record for the most points scored in the NCAA tournament game with 61 and is second all time in career points per game. After his legendary college career, he went first overall in 1971 to the Cavs, a franchise in his second year of existence looking for a star to build around. The first 3 years of his career were great, as he was already an all-star, but foot and knee injuries prevented him from reaching his full potential. Regardless, Austin became the first star in Cleveland, earning the nickname Mr. Cavalier. Even after all the injuries, he was still an effective player throughout the 70s. In his post-NBA career, he still contributes to the Cavs, mostly as a broadcaster. Austin was a legendary player at Notre Dame, and he played a huge role in making the Cavs a respectable team in their first few years of existence. Welcome to PZ Hoops, and let's get down to it. Austin was born on March 10, 1948 in Washington, D.C. At Mackin High School, he teamed up with Tom Little, a future guard for the University of Seattle. As a junior, he averaged 20 points and was All-Metro. He scored 600 points in his senior year and was All-Metro again, leading his team to a Catholic League championship. He was a parade All-American, sharing the class with Artis Gilmore, Howard Porter, Jim McDaniels, and Curtis Rowe. After scoring over 2,000 points in high school, he was coming into Notre Dame with high expectations. Austin quickly showed that he would be as good as advertised, averaging 34 points and 6 rebounds on the freshman team. By the time he was ready for varsity, the Irish were already set with seniors Bob Whitmore and Bob Arnzen. But Austin was part of a young core that featured Collis Jones and Sid Catlett. In his varsity debut against King's College, he dropped 20 points. He would actually drop 7 more 20-point games, including a season-high 32 points against Valparaiso. Notre Dame wasn't an elite team, but they more than held their own this year, as their 20-7 finish secured them a ticket to the big dance. Austin would deal with some injuries, only playing in 16 games, but he still led the team in scoring, with averages of 22 points and 5 rebounds. The Fighting Irish faced off against Miami of Ohio in their first tournament game, as Austin had a rough debut, dropping 6 points and 3 rebounds on 1 of 6 shooting, as the Red Hawks put out a 3-point win. Austin would really put himself on the national radar as a junior, averaging 36 points through the first 5 games. He dropped 51 on DePaul, 53 on Tulane, 55 on West Virginia, and 50 on Butler. Since he was playing at the same time as Pete Maravich, he didn't even lead the nation in scoring. Riding the momentum of their star guard, Notre Dame had the 6th best offense in the country, as they finished 21-8 on the season. Austin was a second-team All-American, averaging 38 points and 8 rebounds on 56% shooting. He would make history in the tournament, as in the first game against Ohio, Austin was unstoppable, dropping the still-standing record of 61 points along with 6 rebounds and 3 assists, shooting 57% from the floor in a convincing win. Although they lost the next game against Kentucky, he still had 52 points and 8 rebounds on 63% shooting. In the third place game against Iowa, Austin put up 45 points and 10 rebounds, but the Hawkeyes still won by double digits. He somehow kept up this production as a senior, as he had a 4-game stretch averaging 48 points. He had 8 games with over 45 points, as Notre Dame had a top 10 offense again. Their defense was their Achilles heel, as they were 13-7 in February, with their tournament hopes hanging in the balance. They then had a 5-game winning streak to finish the year at 18-7, earning an at-large bid to the big dance. With Pistol Pete in the NBA, Austin led the nation in scoring, not just becoming a first-team All-American, but the AP Player of the Year as well, averaging 38 points and 7.5 rebounds. He was unbelievable in their first tournament game against TCU, dropping 52 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals, shooting 59% in a win. He came back down to earth against Drake, putting up 26 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 11 for 27 in a losing effort. The regional third-place game was another loss to Indiana, as Austin dropped 47 points and 12 rebounds. The status quo of the 70s was that you needed a great big man in the middle to compete for a championship. With players like Sidney Wicks, Elmore Smith, and Kenny Durrett available, the Cavs selected Austin with the top pick of the 1971 draft. A lot of people were confused as to why Cleveland would take a guard, as the doubts continued to creep in during the preseason, as Austin broke a bone in his foot, missing the first month of the regular season. The Cavs were in their second year as a franchise, as they had some young pieces in John Johnson, Butch Beard, and Rick Roberson. Austin finally made his debut on November 16th, as he really got into a groove to end the month, averaging 24 points in the final week. On December 8th against Boston, he broke his foot again, missing 7 weeks. Once he returned in January, he really showed up. Although Cleveland wasn't really winning, John and Butch were all-stars, but the Cavs were near the bottom of the league on both sides of the ball. But a 23-59 finish was an improvement. In an all-rookie season, Austin averaged 21 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. The Cavs upgraded their guard depth in 1972, adding Lenny Wilkens and Jim Clemens. Austin would finally be healthy this season, and he quickly proved his draft selection, dropping 40 points on 68% shooting in the second game of the season. He dropped his first career double-double on November 21st against Seattle with 31 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists. Austin wasn't just a scorer though, as he had 2 games with double-digit rebounds and 22 games with at least 5 assists. A 35-year-old Lenny Wilkens was still elite, as he tied Austin for the team lead in scoring. John regressed quite a bit, but as usual, no one else outside of these three provided much, but their defense helped them improve to 32 and 50. Austin averaged 21 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. John was traded to Portland in 1973, so Bingo Smith was a new starting small forward, and Steve Patterson was a new starting center. Now with more opportunities in the offense, Austin was playing the most efficient ball of his career to start the season. He was also showing some promise on the defensive end, dropping 26 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals on December 9th against Phoenix. A week later, he put up a season-high 39 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. Austin was top 15 in scoring and free throw percentage, making his first All-Star game. In his career year, he had 11 30-point games, 30 games with at least 5 assists, and 11 games with at least 3 steals. But outside of him, Cleveland's offense was atrocious, so their 29 and 53 record kept them out of the playoffs. Austin averaged 22 points, 3.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. The Cavs got a whole lot better defensively in 1974, signing Jim Chones from the ABA and drafting Campy Russell and Foots Walker. They also added a solid guard in Dick Snyder. Austin started out the year with a 34-point, 9 assists, and 2 steal performance in a quadruple overtime loss to Portland. He was in the zone for the first 2 months, but he would hurt his knee on the day after Christmas. Once he returned in March, he wasn't the same player anymore, as his quick first step and athleticism were pretty much gone after the surgery. He struggled to get back to his regular form, but Cleveland experienced a lot of success slowing the pace down and focusing on defense. They won 40 games this year, missing the playoffs by just 1 game. Austin averaged 15 points, 2.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Now that Austin's mobility was affected after the knee injury, he would come off the bench in 1975. The Cavs also added Nate Thurman to bolster their second unit. Austin only played about 20 minutes a game, but he was a solid spark plug for the team. On December 27th against Washington, he dropped 21 points, 2 assists, and 4 steals, followed by a season-high 27 points on 12 of 19 shooting against Atlanta on April 4th. The Cavs' offense continued to be a weak point, as Jim Chones led the team with just under 16 points a game. The defensive end was really where they shined, as they were second in steals, 4th in blocks, and 2nd in points allowed. Another positive was that they were actually winning games, as their 49 and 33 record was their best in franchise history to that point, as they made their first playoff appearance. Austin averaged 10 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists, as the Cavs faced the Bullets in the semifinals. His minutes were spotty in this series, but he put up 17 points in Game 3, and 27 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists in Game 6. He only played 10 minutes in Game 7, but Dick Snyder created the first great playoff moment in Cleveland Cavs history.
Somebody has game, and it's tied at 85. Clemens will inbound on the left side. Clemens looks and waits, flips to Snyder. Snyder sideline left. Snyder on the dribble drive to the hoop. Put it up. Good! It's good! Snyder scored with 4 seconds to go, and the Bullets take time.
This shot sealed the game, sending Cleveland to the conference finals against Boston. Dick's game-winning shot became the miracle of Richfield, one of the most famous moments in Cleveland sports. Austin played a lot better in this series, scoring double figures 5 times, including 26 points and 3 assists on 11 of 17 shooting in Game 6. But Boston won by 7 to advance to the finals. The Cavs surprised a lot of people last season with their playoff run, and they looked to build upon their success. Austin finally had a relatively healthy season, and he returned to the starting lineup in 1976. And he was playing like his old self, putting up a 5-game stretch where he averaged 21 points on 54% shooting. He dropped 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists on March 22nd against Seattle. But then he exploded for a career-high 42 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists on 18 of 23 shooting in the season finale. Cleveland's defense remained strong, finishing second in points allowed and steals, while they allowed the lowest field goal percentage in the league. They regressed a little bit this year, but 43 and 39 was still enough for another playoff berth. Austin improved his numbers this year, averaging 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. He was a starter in the first-round series against Washington, but he wasn't his best self, shooting just 28% as the Bullets won the series in 3 games. The Cavs made a big change in 1977, trading Jim Clemens for Walt Frazier. although he was injury prone and past his prime. Austin's role was limited again this year, but he was still a pretty consistent player, dropping 22 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 5 steals on January 4th against Philly. As Walt struggled with injuries, Austin got more opportunity, and he was productive, especially in April, averaging 23 points on 56% shooting. Campy Russell continued to improve, but other than that, there wasn't much else to be excited about in Cleveland. Their defense was still pretty good, so they finished with another 43-39 record. Austin averaged 12 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Cavs faced the Knicks in the first round, and while he scored his points in this series, he was inefficient again, shooting just 37% as Cleveland was swept. The Cavs made a solid draft pick in 1978, taking Auburn's Mike Mitchell. Austin was a full-fledged starter again, and he had his best season in a while, dropping 6 20-point games in the first 2 months. He would have 29 20-point games in total, along with a season-high 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists on December 21st against Houston. Campy had the best season of his career, but the Cavs were decimated by injuries, especially to Walt and Foots Walker. Their lackluster offense remained the same, but their defense took a huge dive as they regressed as a whole, finishing with a 30-52 record, missing the playoffs for the first time in 3 years. Austin's much improved season saw him average 17 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. Walt was really on his last legs in 1979. So he was waived. Cleveland sent a first-round pick to San Diego for Randy Smith. 2 weeks later, they traded Jim Chones to the Lakers for Dave Robish. Austin was still solid this year, dropping 28 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals on the 5th game of the season. He put up 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists 2 weeks later against Detroit, along with a season-high 32 points on February 16th against Detroit again. His work in the community was recognized as he won the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award. But the Cavs made another head-scratching trade, sending Butch Lee and another first-rounder to the Lakers for Don Ford. The first-round pick that the Cavs got back was used to select Chad Kinch, while the Lakers pick was used to select James Worthy. Campy missed half the season with a knee injury, so Mike really stepped up as a sophomore, averaging 22 points a game. Cleveland flipped the switch this year, having the third best offense while having the third worst defense. But this team really wasn't that good, so they finished 37-45. Austin averaged 12 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. The Dallas Mavericks were a new expansion team in 1980, so the Cavs decided they weren't going to protect Austin, so he was selected in the expansion draft. Even with the lack of consistency in Dallas' roster, Austin was still buried on the bench, only playing about 9 minutes a game in the first 2 weeks. The Mavs were moving a lot of pieces this year, as Austin would be one of them, as his player rights were sold to the Bullets. He was slotted in as a third shooting guard behind Carlos Terry and Kevin Greavy. Austin was fine with coming off the bench, but he really didn't play enough minutes to get into a rhythm. But in January, he finally got a chance to play significant time for a 4-game span. However, he was inefficient, shooting just 36% in that time frame, but he did drop a season-high 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists on the third against his former team. The Bullets still had their front court of Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld, but they were both in their mid-30s, while the team dealt with a lot of injuries, as 18 different guys suited up for Washington. Their 39-43 finish wasn't enough for a playoff spot. Austin averaged 5 points, 1.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. Austin retired in the offseason, and he returned to the Cavs organization as the Director of Community Relations, and also more famously as a commentator. The Cavs retired his jersey number, while he was also elected to the College Basketball Hall of Fame. Austin Carr was one of the best scorers that the college basketball world had ever seen during his time at Notre Dame. His pull-up jumper was nearly automatic, while he could get to the rim and finish through contact if you played up on him. He was an underrated rebounder for his size, and he was a solid passer as well. Cleveland made him the first selection of the 1971 draft, as early foot injuries casted doubt among some about this pick, but he would overcome this to average over 20 points a game for his first 3 seasons, even becoming an all-star. But a knee injury in his 4th year would rob him of a lot of his quickness and burst off the dribble, so he would never produce at an all-star level again. Austin was still a valuable offensive piece to the Cavs, even after his injuries, as he was a key contributor to their surprising Eastern Conference Finals run in 1976. Even after he retired, he was still a fixture in the Cleveland community and a legendary broadcaster for the franchise, but one can only imagine how good he could have been without the knee injury. Thank you guys, I really appreciate y'all so much. I heard of Austin Carr because I used to watch some of the Cleveland games on NBA TV, and he would always be broadcasting the games. I knew that he played, but I had never really looked into his career like that. What I did know, I know he had the record for the most points scored in the game. And then I saw the game, that 15 to 18 foot jumper, he literally couldn't miss from that range. And then if you played up on him, he could drive past you and finish with contact. He was a solid rebounder for his size. He was a good passer. He was a decent defender. It sucks that the injuries got him because he was on a really good trajectory. Austin Carr was a dog, man. Especially in college, he might have been one of the best scorers in college basketball history, if we're being honest. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the support, man. You guys are really supporting the crap out of these videos, man. I appreciate you guys. Leave a like, hit that subscribe if you're new. Turn my post notification on if you haven't already. But I'm out. Peace.